All right, today I'm going to be featuring the Buff brush, which is one of my favorite brushes, and it has one end that is larger than the other, similarly shaped with very densely packed bristles. So it is going to give you the most full coverage of any of the brushes that Saint offers. I'm going to be doing my makeup out of this 3D Palette 12 today, and I'm getting started by putting Frenchie on my dark circles. Frenchie is a lip and cheek color, but because it's kind of an orangey pink, it does a really nice job at canceling out some of the blues under your eye. So now you can see I'm using the large end of the Buff brush, and I'm barely touching the cream. And I'm working that main highlight color around the lower third of my face. So around my mouth, lower cheeks, around my nose, and then the lower part of my forehead, so right above my eyebrows. The next thing I'm going to do after I kind of fan all this out is I'm going to grab the smaller side, which again is shaped similarly to the big side, just a smaller radius. And I go ahead and grab my contour next, put that right under my cheekbone, and that is just going to start to give me a little bit more of a chiseled and lifted look. Then I always take my contour around my hairline as well. So that's just giving my face some dimension and a little bit of warmth too, versus having everything be all one color. So sometimes I will use the small end of the Buff brush to go under my eyes, but because I color corrected today, I grabbed the blend brush for this. I just always try and keep as little product as possible under my eyes because the skin there is so fragile and it moves the most. So when I use the Buff brush, I love to pair it with the blend brush because the blend brush does our lightest coverage. So by having those two brushes, you're getting the best of both options. So here I'm just fluffing my brightening highlight on. My brightening color right now is linen, and you can see that it is just covering up that Frenchie and helping me to look much more awake. I like to take the small end of the blend brush and get that linen right in the inner corner of my eyes, and sometimes I even take it along my waterline. Excuse the break, I was starting to sweat, had to turn on my ceiling fan. And now we're going to nose contour. So you can use the small end of the Buff brush or the small end of the blend brush to do this. Both work great. I just already had this one in my hand, so that's what I am going with. And then I connect the contour underneath the tip of my nose. So you want to keep your lines as straight and close together as possible. And I like to connect them from my brows all the way down. Then use your brightening shade to highlight right down the center of your nose. And then I even take my brightening shade on the side of my nose as well, just because I think that that kind of helps enhance the nose contour. Okay, next to pick a lip and cheek color. So with my blush and bronzer, I am grabbing, oops, just kidding, there we go. Back to my Buff brush, since that's what I'm featuring. You can see that you can use the big brush end for your lip and cheek placement. This is Hollywood, I believe. And then the next thing I'm going to do is kind of clean up with that same Buff brush. So I just kind of add a little more product if I get too high with my blush or anything like that. And now we're going to move on to eyes. So I am using two eyeshadow colors, Basic and Trust, to fill in my brows. And I'm just using tiny hair-like strokes with the line brush. And I love this because it has a spoolie on the other end. So it makes it really easy to switch back and forth and just brush out that color. Helps you get a nice natural look by using the spoolie and keeps it from looking like you drew your eyebrows on. So I'm just kind of working up with my brush and then brushing it out. Now I'm going to squirt the tip of my, or not the tip, but just my spoolie in general with my Stay Spray and go into our brow wax. The brow wax is just like hairspray for brows, so it's going to help them stay in place and it gives them a little more volume. So I kind of brush up with that wax. Okay, next for my eyeshadow look, I'm going to use three colors. I've got my Rome, Bird, and Finn, but I'm actually starting with my setting powder as a base. So I took that Vanilla Dust just really lightly right over top of my lids, and now I've grabbed Rome, which is the shimmery neutral, with the fluffy end of my eyeshadow brush, and I'm just putting that all over my lid. Look at the cats, so cute. Okay, so again, this is just going all over my whole lid. And this is a super nice color to have in your palette because it's great for everyday wear. You could just wear Rome and stop there. And then you can see here I'm adding that darker shade Bird to just give my eye a little more dimension. And so I'm just doing a windshield wiper back and forth with that medium shade. And now I'm going in with the small end of my brush and picking up a little bit of Fin and putting that in the outer corners in a C shape. Then I use the fluffy end just to blend it all together and soften up those lines. So here again, I'm talking about if you have any fallout from your eyeshadow, you can just pick up that buff brush and just wipe it up with anything that is left on your brush. Next, I'm grabbing Glamazing Powder Illuminator and rubbing that right on my eyelid for extra brightness. And then again, just softening up the lines with the eyeshadow brush. Here we have one of my favorite neutral glosses. This is Sadie, and I just threw that on my lips for just a super neutral glossy finish. Now I've got my Perfector sponge, and I sprayed a little more Stay Spray, and I'm just dabbing that around onto my face. It's gonna last all day. And then back with that buff brush, I grab the small end, I wipe it into my Vanilla Dust, and I'm just pressing that Vanilla Dust all over anywhere where my makeup might wear off because of a mask, or anywhere I just want extra staying power. Just pause for a brief intermission. My mascara was in my clutch. And just finishing off here with my mascara. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, the buff brush is awesome for full coverage. You can pretty much do your whole face with it. Remember, I switched to the blend brush for my under eye, but tons and tons of gals use the small end of the buff brush for their under eye. I also love it for my nose contour. And let me know if you have any questions. Happy to help you with a color match.